This week on Talking About the Movies, don't you just love it when you're offered $50 million to watch this kid that just got kidnapped, only to realize that you've kidnapped Dracula's daughter? Well, that's what happened to these people here as we take a look at the latest film from the directors of the recent screen films on Ready or Not, Abigail. Plus,
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
I guess aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
we also talk about last week's #1 movie and what is surely going to be one of the most controversial movies of the year, Alex Garland's latest film, Civil War. A double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies, the show where we take a look at the biggest new releases of the weekend and weekends past too, because we're looking at two movies today. One that came out this weekend and the other one that came out last week that I did not get a chance to see until this week. So we got a lot to get to here, so let's just go ahead and jump right to it. Let's start off with this weekend's newest release, and that is Abigail. So Abigail tells the story of a group of would-be criminals who kidnap the 12-year-old ballerina daughter of a powerful underworld figure. All they have to do is collect a $50 million ransom and watch the girl overnight. And that's how they get it. In an isolated manner, the captors start to dwindle one by one, and they discover to the mounting horror that they're locked inside with no normal little girl. Turns out that this little girl is actually the daughter of Dracula, hence why this is actually a remake of the 1936, I believe it was 1936, let me just double check here. Yeah, 1936 Universal monster film, Dracula's Daughter, in which you have Alicia Weir here playing the daughter of Count Dracula. You also have Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Kevin Durand, Giancarlo Esposito, the late Angus Cloud, directed by the guys who gave us the most recent Scream films and also did Ready or Not, which is a great underrated film, henceforth the guys known as Radio Silence. And I gotta say, it's interesting that Universal has gone on this vampire train in the last year or so. I mean, think about it. Last year, around this time, they gave us Renfield, which was not a great film overall. In fact, I was kind of let down by it, considering the fact that it had Nicolas Cage as Dracula. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? And the end result was a film that was mostly a mixed bag. Not a great film, but certainly a definite letdown considering what was being promised beforehand. But then in August, we had The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was an incredibly underrated film that nobody went to go see. If you have not seen that movie, you should definitely check that out. And now we have this movie here, and to think that they almost had the Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan movie that was supposed to be a vampire movie too, but that's over at Warner Brothers now. But then again, with Warner Brothers, the way they handle business, this could end up being a Universal film at some point. But this is a film that I think a lot of people definitely were very curious about. When I saw the trailer for it a couple months ago, it was just like, okay, I did not expect you to take that route. I had no idea that this was actually a remake of Dracula's Daughter. And considering that these guys also did Ready or Not, which is a brilliant, brilliant underrated film, which I just talked about beforehand, I was definitely excited for this. And sure enough, this movie did not disappoint at all. It's a very good film. It's a really good, intense film that also finds the elements of being both a scary movie, but also throws in a little bit of humor, too. It's a great balance of, like, it's not really a horror comedy per se, but it definitely throws in the comedic elements, and they don't feel like they're forced in there. It feels like that they're properly placed in there, and it just feels like a film that just, like, there are times where you get good, legitimate, hard laughs out of it. I was not expecting to laugh as long as hard as I did with this film here. And the acting overall is very good. This young actress, Alicia Weir, does a very good job of playing Dracula's daughter very well. I like her. I like the way she just commands the screen. She just gives it her all in this. It's just like, she really is the centerpiece of this movie. And you also have a terrific cast that includes, like I said, Melissa Barrera, who, of course, in the last couple of months, she's been under scrutiny for getting fired from Scream for a really stupid reason. And if you don't want to, I don't want to delve into that, but you can definitely find the resources out there. But she shows that she is still a very good actress in this movie, and she is very, very good in this. I thought Kevin Durand was pretty good too, even though it's hard not to look at him in this movie and think to myself all the time. Every time I see the trailer for it, I'm just like, is that Elon Musk? Like, I swear, he looks like Elon Musk every time I see him in this. It's just like, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's pretty funny stuff when you see him in the there. And I don't know if this was part of the gag or not, but it's kind of hard not to see Elon Musk in there when you see Kevin Durant come up on screen. And yeah, the movie really is, there's nothing really all that grand or spectacular about it. I mean, it's a movie that runs at a nice, smooth, even pace. I mean, even though the film is close to 2 hours long, you do feel like you get just enough of what you're expecting from this film. And it delivers a very solid, very intense, very fun movie. I mean, it's a film that really does give you everything you want to see and then some. And a lot of the great elements that made Radio Not Such a Great Movie are definitely in this film. You become more appreciative of what Radio Silence does with their films. I mean, even somebody like me who is not a big Scream fan, I found myself so invested with the Scream movies because of what they added to it with the last two movies they did. And I was really ashamed. I was really bummed out that they actually did not come back for the next film because, of course, of what happened with the controversy with that film, but with the next film going forward. But I think it's a very good film. It's a really great, fun horror comedy. It's a film that really does deliver everything that it promises and then some. It's a great mix of both horror and comedy. It's a fun film overall. I really don't have much more I can say about this, and hasn't already been said already. I think it's a very good film. If you go into it knowing what you're going to get from it, you're going to have a really good time with this film. And you know, we don't. It's a good time right now for horror films in general. We've had a lot of very good horror films as of late. I mean, I just mentioned Last Voyage of the Demeter. We just had Late Night with the Devil, which is a terrific film. I just finally got a chance to watch that film, and I can see what everyone's talking about with that one. The First Omen got a lot of really good reviews. I mean, it's a good time for horror movies now because I think people are starting to realize that, hey, we don't have to keep making the same type of horror movie over and over again. We can actually add an element to it. And sure enough, this is one of those examples where we can add another element to it, and it makes for a really good film out of it. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I give it a big thumbs up. Maybe not a big thumbs up, but a good thumbs up. A good thumbs up. You can go in there, have a good time with it. You're not going to see a masterpiece by any means necessary, but you're going to get a very solid film overall. I really enjoyed this one. Definitely check it out, Abigail. So, that is Abigail. Let's go ahead and move on to the second movie, the one that came out last week, and that is A24's Civil War. Civil War is, of course, the latest film from director Alex Garland, who also is one of the writers of 28 Days Later, but is most noticeably known with his directing works with some great films like Ex Machina, Annihilation. His last film, Men, was probably his weakest film overall, but I gotta say, this is a nice return to form for him. You have a movie where it's a journey across a dystopian future America following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. And this movie clearly has the different depictions of where specific places are, like the Loyalist states. You've got places like Nevada, you've got Kansas, Chicago, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York, everywhere all the way up to Maine. The Western Forces are California and Texas. The Florida Alliance is Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma. The New People's Army is Washington, Montana, Minnesota. They do a great job of handling this depiction of what the maps are beforehand, like going into the film. It kind of reminds me of, back when David Lynch made Dune, kind of. Like when you saw Dune back in 1984, they actually gave you a list when you went into the theater of some of the terms in there. But unlike that movie, which did not work out in the film's favor, this actually does help this film out, knowing beforehand who's in what specific category of where the United States is in this film. And for Alex Garland, this was a nice return to form for him. This is why a great director like him, who made Ex Machina and Annihilation, is such a good director. It makes him such a good director, because Men was just one of those movies that was kind of like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't like up to his standards either. Like Ex Machina and Annihilation still has moments in there that are still really memorable to me. When I go back and look at those movies, those are films that I think of as the best movies of the decade of the 2010s. This is another film that I think definitely is up there with one of the best movies of the year, and it really is. It's for a number of different reasons. One, the cast, which is a phenomenal cast, which includes Kirsten Dunst, Kaylee Spaney, Sonia Mizono, Nick Offerman as the President of the United States, which I think was pretty amazing. Jesse Plemons, who was really damn good in the movie. I mean, he's made a lot of great films beforehand, but this is probably his best overall performance I've seen him in. I mean, he is so good in the film, playing, I can't remember his name now, It doesn't have a name, actually. He was actually not credited for this particular role, but when you see him on screen, you know it's him if you've seen him in other movies, and he just soaks up the screen whenever he's on screen. It's just incredible stuff here. The movie definitely feels like a film that would definitely fit into the world of The Purge. It feels like there's a lot of elements of The Purge in here. But keep in mind, The Purge started off kind of like a film that had good ideas to it, but just the wrong execution, because they always talked about how, just think of the good The Purge does to everybody, and they don't really ever explain it in the first movie. But as the films go along in that series, you start to realize that maybe things don't work out as well as they want to here, and that's where the good political, satirical elements of it really come into play here. I think a lot of those elements are in this film in particular, and the greatest thing about this whole movie that I really give it a lot of credit for is that it does not pick a specific side. It has to make you, the viewer, decide which side are you on in this situation here. And I love that about movies. I feel like a lot of movies do not do that anymore, where they have to make you think while you're watching the movie. Like, who do you think is right in this situation? Who do you think is wrong in this situation? And that's what I really like about this movie, because it does not give you a straightforward answer. And I think that's what is causing the controversy for a lot of people, because it doesn't specifically go straight up and say which side is right, which side is wrong. No, it's a movie that basically tells you have to be the one to decide what what you think is right for the country or not. And I like that. I like that idea that it has to make you decide to do it. It's a thinking man's movie. We don't get a lot of thinking man's movies anymore, where you have to decide which side of the spectrum are you on. And really, that's one of the greatest things about the movie too, is about that, but also the fact that, it's a movie that's not only got a great cast, has a ton of spectacular action sequences. I mean, this is just a fantastic film, and quite frankly, I really don't know, honestly, if there's anything more that I could say about this movie that hasn't already been said already, but it's just a really damn good movie, and it's just a return to form for Alex Garland, whose last film was not that great, but it's a film that makes you question things. It doesn't pick a side for you. It has to let you, the viewer, decide which side of the angle of the spectrum do you want to be on. It's got a great cast, great action, memorable characters that you will never forget, and it's just a really damn good movie that just keeps you so invested throughout the course of its running time. And it's not even a long movie either. Like with Abigail, it's about the same length as Abigail, about a little under 2 hours. Like, it gets in and gets out just as quickly, and it just feels like, you know what? Kudos to them, because this is a film that probably could have easily been an extended film, probably almost 4 hours long if they really wanted to go that route. But it comes in, it gives you everything that you want to see and everything you need to know, and then you go on about your day. And it's just like, you know what? I give them a lot of credit for that, really. And it's just a fantastic film. I can't recommend this one enough. I can definitely see why it would cause controversy with a lot of people, but I also see it as one of the film's highlights of the year. Like, this is a film that, quite honestly, if the Academy Awards are not still in that spectrum where they can only look at the films from July onwards, this probably will be a film that will be heavily in contention for the best picture of the year if the Oscars are willing to go ahead and nominate a film like this, because I feel like this is a film that definitely could be a Best Picture nominee when the year is over with. It just feels like it has that kind of mentality to it. But hopefully it does, and we'll see what the rest of the year has to offer. But I really like this movie. Now, this is a film I would say is one of the best movies of the year. A big thumbs up on Civil War. Definitely see it. You will not be disappointed by it. So yeah, a quick one this week. Everyone's pretty much covered everything you needed to know about these two particular movies, so I didn't want to go off on a long review for these two particular films, especially Civil War. So next week we have a big new release coming up, and it's already getting a ton of good praise, high praise. Another film that could be one of the year's best movies. Zendaya starring with Mike Faist and can't remember the other guy. Josh O'Connor in Challengers, which, like I said, it's gotten critical acclaim. Some people say Zendaya may be nominated for an Oscar, which I really like Zendaya as an actress, so I hopefully that will be the case. Hopefully I'll feel the same way going into this film. I'm really looking forward to it. It's Luca Guadagnino's latest film. Really looking forward to checking it out. We'll have the review for that here next week. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see some of the other reviews I've done, check out the next page. Hit our playlist to see some of the other episodes we've done. And hit the like and subscribe button if you like this and want to see more videos like this. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.